Welcome back to Strange Stories with the Seeker and the Skeptic. I'm Brittany. I'm the Seeker.
And I'm Jonathan. I guess that makes me the skeptic.
Today, we're going to have a really fun episode for you guys. We have my wonderful parents, Rosemary and David, with us. My parents have known each other pretty much their whole lives. They've been married for 43 years. Rosemary, my mother, is a retired school psychologist, dedicated daughter to my 95-year-old Spitfire of a grandmother, and a devout Catholic. And my dad, aka Papa Place, is the man who gave me my book hoarding tendencies and fed my desire to understand the unexplained with his love of a good conspiracy theory. So welcome to the show. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Okay, thanks.
No
Thanks for
problem.
having us.
Yeah.
We're very excited to have you guys. So we'll definitely get into talking about all of our different experiences growing up in your household with the unexplained. But Mom, you had mentioned that something had happened to you in your childhood. And I don't know if I knew this story, so I'm wondering if you could tell us what you saw over the lake.
Yeah, it was kind of a one-time thing, and it was pretty much unexplained. But for your listeners who don't know, we live on Lake Ontario, and there are 3 nuclear power plants right on our lake, within a few miles of where we live. So when I was a little girl, and this was about the time that the first power plant was operational, and then I don't think the other 2 were yet. My father had a friend who lived out in Scriba, which is near the lake, and he kept seeing all these strange lights over the lake. So one night we went out, and sure enough, there were strange lights over the lake. And I probably was only maybe about 8 years old or something like that. So it's kind of a dim memory, but I remember the lights didn't move like a plane. Then they were right about where the nuclear power plants were. So that's about the extent of my extraterrestrial experience, if you will.
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever heard that story. I remember growing up, there was a story, I think, with Aunt Bobby and Aunt Me had seen something at Grandma's, right?
Yes. And I did not.
You weren't there, but
reason. I vaguely have a recollection of them talking about it, but I was there, but they went down to explore whatever this phenomenon was, and I didn't for whatever reason. And then I didn't remember afterwards that they had even done it until they told me.
That's strange.
It was very strange.
So I've told a little bit on the podcast about some of the things that we experienced growing up. But when it all started, I was pretty little. I was, a lot younger. So I want you guys to tell from your perspective, like what happened in our house and when did it start happening?
Oh, what didn't happen? I want to say I noticed, well, Erin your sister, kept coming to us and talking about the green girl that was in her room. And I, being cynical, I put it down to, you're reading too many of those Goosebumps and R.L. Stine books. And she was probably, I don't know, like 8 or 9 or whatever. So, but then after things started happening, I kind of like, okay, maybe this isn't all just, her imagination. And we figured out that the green girl was green because her walls were painted green and the girl was transparent. So that's how she ended up being the green girl. And so it was just kind of odd things. And people say, wow, that's really scary. And I'm like, it really wasn't. It was kind of, it was just kind of strange. We had a lot of like what I would call residual activity, like things that didn't seem to have intelligence behind it, like the green girl. One time I saw a dog that was like, all I can say is it looked like it was made of smoke. And I had just let our dogs outside. It was like about 6 o'clock in the morning. And I hear these little toenails coming down the hallway. And I recognize that as, that sounded like my dog. And then I went like, wait, my dog's outside. And so I saw it coming. And it was about the size and shape of my Sheltie. But it looked like it was made of smoke. And it disappeared. We have an island in my kitchen, and I was standing on the other side of the island, and it disappeared out of my line of sight, and then it was gone. So, we've had a lot of, residual, what I would call residual activity, footsteps, that sort of thing. We've had different people come and investigate our house, and they did see an image in our garage, of all places, in the rear view mirror of our car, that was like a soldier in uniform. So
do you have any idea where that picture is? Because that is such a clear picture.
Yeah. Geez, I don't.
We'll have to look for the stuff somewhere.
It'd be cool to
Aaron
see.
may have it, but who knows?
Yeah.
So there's a picture of that.
Yes.
Okay, what military uniform?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what era it would have been from? Like just by looking at it, and do you happen to know?
I really don't remember. I think
I don't think it was modern.
no, it wasn't.
No.
It was, I don't know.
So I don't know. It could have been revolutionary, could have been Civil War. I'm not sure, but it wasn't
It wasn't
a modern uniform.
right.
What were some of the experiences that you had, Dad, early on?
Well, the thing that made me believe in all this is I was home alone. Mom was at work. You guys were in school. And the dog, at that point, we only had Chloe. So she was in bed with me. And suddenly I felt something get in bed with me. And then it was like a little kid running across the bed. Like you would run back and forth in the bed. And that's what I felt.
Oh, so you felt like an actual
A physical feeling, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember, growing up, I would always see shadows out of the corner of my eye, definitely like little ones that looked like animals, would hear footsteps. I remember times hearing like somebody typing on the computer and thinking it was like you, Dad. And so I would go and check, and there would be nobody in that room.
Yeah, well, I had an experience like that too. I kept hearing voices, and I knew I was the only one. Me and the dog were the only ones in the house, and we were in our bathroom. So I come out and look, and it sounded like there was people out here, like there was a party going on, and there was nothing out here at all.
Yeah.
And I wasn't playing any music or anything like that, and we're too far away from any of our neighbors to hear music.
Mm-hmm.
And just for the sake of context, these two experiences that you just explained, what years would those have been generally? Like what decade at least? Oh, in 90s, 80s?
Probably in the 90s, I would be my guess. Some into the 2000s. Well, the running joke at our house was always that that the ghosts were attracted to Erin. And so when she was away at college, we would have like hardly any activity going on at all. And then about a week before she'd come home for a break or whatever, everything would start up again. And we're like, oh, they know the Erin's coming home. So, so we kind of blamed Erin for a lot of this. she seems to be a magnet for this kind of thing.
She definitely does. And that's interesting because you had said, Mom, that there's some energy that feels like there's a consciousness to it, and then there's some that just feels like residual. So kind of talk to us about how you like see those different categories and what experiences you've had with them.
Well, I mean, obviously I'm not a paranormal expert, but, to my understanding, a residual activity is just it's not aware of you. It's just kind of like a tape that's being played over and over again. You know, more of a consciousness is that they interact with you, or something like that. So we definitely have both.
Mhm.
Definitely have both going on.
In what ways have they interacted with you?
Well, they like to take our stuff, and
Yeah.
um, and and sometimes it will come back, and sometimes it won't. And what if it does come back? It's always in an odd place where you know darn well you didn't put it, or you've already looked there a bunch of times. So, you know, that happened with the Aaron scholarship check. We tore the recycling bin apart 3 different times, and then we found it like laying on top of the recycling. I'm like, well, we know that we looked there.
Mhm.
Like they seem to like my jewelry and my makeup. They they took that. Most recently, we haven't, honestly, we have not had a lot of activity in the last couple of years, but Aaron's coming home next week. So recently they stole my sunglasses, and I wouldn't have really cared, except they were prescription sunglasses and they cost me a lot of money. And so I looked all over. I tore the house apart. I even asked up to the nursing home where grandma is if anybody had found a pair of sunglasses, although I know I didn't, you know, leave them there, because they're either on my face or in my purse, you know. So if I take them off, I put my regular glasses on and put the sunglasses in my purse.
Mhm.
So
And I looked everywhere.
yeah, and like on top of our desk, we have like a bunch of old glasses and a bunch of old, like just regular plain old cheap sunglasses. So there's probably 4 or 5, you know, glass cases up there. So I had actually broken my good glasses, and so I was looking for a pair of my old glasses to wear until the new ones got fixed. And so I'm opening up all the cases, and I'm like, wait, I don't remember seeing that case up here before. And open them up, son of a gun, there were my sunglasses. Sometimes if you yell at them, they'll bring stuff back.
Mhm. Yeah, that definitely worked for me before.
Yeah.
You know, when things were taken, you have to get a little mean, and then they're
Mhm.
like, okay, we'll return them.
Yeah. So tell them about your keys.
So I was getting ready to go to the doctor's one day. Mom was at work. I was here by myself. You guys were in school. And I went to get the keys off the key rack that's hanging in the living room. My keys weren't there. So I'm going through all my coat pockets, my pants pockets that are hanging on the coat tree. I'm looking all over the place. I couldn't find them. I ended up having to call the doctor and canceling the appointment and rescheduling. I couldn't get there.
Mhm.
And then I went into my underwear drawer to get some socks, and that's where they were. And I would have never
Yeah.
in a million years put them in there.
Yeah. That seems like a very odd place to put your keys.
Yeah.
So you both have mentioned that you were kind of skeptical at first, and then some experiences made you a believer. So what made you skeptical at first?
Well, I think, you know, just our very traditional upbringing, you know, we were always taught there's no such thing as ghosts, and that all of this stuff was a lot of, you know, hooey. So, you know, I was very slow to believe that there was stuff going on, and I was always trying to look for a logical explanation for it.
Mhm.
But eventually you just kind of have to admit, okay, there's something going on here that we can't explain.
Mhm.
Yeah. And sometimes it wasn't always like malicious or mischievous. Sometimes they would try to be helpful. Like when I first went back to work and you guys were still little, if there was like a Monday holiday where I didn't have to go into school, and I'd still be sleeping, all of a sudden I hear a knock on the door. And I'd get up thinking it was one of you guys, and there's nobody there. And I'd look in on you, and you were both asleep. And this happened several times. So I'm thinking they're trying to let me know, hey, you're oversleeping. You're supposed to be going to school now.
Right.
But yeah,
Being a
but
little alarm clock for you.
yeah. And one of the things that just really sticks out in my mind happened to a former family member who will remain nameless. But I remember you were bringing stuff up from the cellar and you didn't want to go down there alone. And this person was, giving you the business about, oh, you're just, being stupid or silly or whatever. And so he went down and he was carrying stuff up and he got about the third step from the top of the stairs and he said something along the lines of, and I don't know if you may want to edit this out, but you're a bunch of pussies. And I heard, and I was probably a good 12 feet away, I heard a hiss that was like directly into his ear. And I think he leaped those last three steps in one bound.
Mhm.
And I was over in my chair in the living room and I heard that hiss
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I definitely remember that. I think it was actually Erin wanted somebody to go downstairs with her. 'Cause
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
think I was downstairs. I think I was at the top of the stairs and heard it. But I remember not too long after that happened, we had some paranormal investigators come to the house
Mhm. Yep.
and they were doing the light, like the flashlight kind of communication, with
Mhm.
yes or no questions. And I remember
Yeah.
they asked, like, did you hiss at this? Who my mother is talking about is my ex-husband. So, which is fine. We can talk about him, but they asked, like, did you hiss at Mike? And the light went off to indicate yes. Do you guys remember that? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that was very obvious to me because it was loud.
Yeah.
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 What year would that have been?
That was probably
You guys were in college,
college.
I want to
So
say, because I think Aaron was,
2003.
yeah, somewhere between 2002 and 2005, I'd say. Because
Yeah.
I think Aaron, I thought it was you, but I knew somebody had wanted stuff brought up from the basement. I think you were like about ready to go back to,
Mhm.
to college for the semester.
Yeah, it kind of bears mentioning that you guys built that house. What year did you build the house?
1988.
88. Okay. Do you happen to know what was on the property before your house, if
No,
anything?
as far as we knew, it was a vacant lot. So as far back as like our abstract goes, it was a vacant lot. But who knows what was here before?
And this was all Indian land.
That's true. This was all Native American land at one time. We're also we're right near the Oswego River, and right across the river is Seneca Hill, where there is a very famous apparition known as the Seneca Hill Ghost, which might, and it's like a woman and a young child, like a little girl running in terror, and it's been seen by numerous people. So I always have to wonder if the little girl is the green girl, because like we're right across the water from that, and I guess water is a good conduit. I don't know,
Mhm.
but that's what they tell me.
Yes, I've definitely heard that before, that it's an amplifier for energy. So a lot of
Mhm.
spiritual or paranormal activity will happen,
Mhm.
near a river or a large body of water. Do you feel like your beliefs, in Catholicism, has that influence, or did that influence you guys in the beginning of like being a little bit more skeptical?
I think so because we had a very, very traditional upbringing. In our Catholic teaching was the souls of the dead are either in heaven, hell, or purgatory. Those are your three options. And we've kind of had to expand our thinking about that. That maybe there's more to it than that.
So what is your thinking about it now?
I'm not sure. I think that there may be some spirits that haven't crossed over for whatever reason. The residual activity, I think, is probably not somebody's soul, but maybe just there was just some energy that got trapped in a loop. That's my feeling about that. I also, do believe that that the dead can visit us, because I think I mentioned my dream about my grandmother,
Mhm.
which I hardly ever remember my dreams. And if I do, it's like I wake up because I woke up in the middle of the dream, and then after a few minutes it's faded and gone, or I don't remember very much. But I remember this vividly and it was probably 15 years ago or more. But I remember she had been gone for quite a while, and she wasn't particularly on my mind. And she popped up in the middle of a dream I was having where she didn't belong. It was about school. And we were sitting at these little desks, like kindergarten desks. And we were sitting there and we were talking. And I can't remember what we talked about. But I remembered that she was dead. And I, but I wasn't scared. I wasn't afraid of that. And I think words just fall short of the feeling that I got from her. And I remember she looked exactly like I remember her, except she by the end of her life, she was all kind of hunched over with osteoporosis, and she had lost a lot of her teeth. But so I remember her sitting up nice and straight and tall and having these dazzling white teeth, but everything else was exactly the same. Her little apron, her little square glasses, her hair in a bun, exactly the way I remembered her, but the feeling that just emanated from her, and like I said, words just can't fully describe it. It was just a feeling of total peace and love and contentment that just oozed from her pores. So my feeling is, if that's what the other side is like, that's not so bad.
Yeah, it gives you some comfort and not
Yeah.
feeling as afraid. Everybody's time is going to come, obviously,
Exactly.
but your experience, it sounds like, helps you feel a little bit more comfortable that it's going to be a good transition and a good
I
place to
think so.
go.
I actually, I've said many times, I'm not afraid to die. I'm just not looking forward to dying because I don't like pain and suffering,
Right.
But I'm not afraid to die because I know that I have confidence that there's something on the other side that's going to be pretty good.
Yeah. What about you, Dad? How have your beliefs changed since you started experiencing all of this?
Well, it really cemented the thought of the afterlife, and um that contact can be made if need be. A lot of times when I'm really like either upset or out of sorts about something, I'll smell your grandmother's perfume. And Grandma Place only wore one type of perfume her whole life, and that always seems to calm me down. So
But it's like, I'm trying to remember. It's like
it was
Hovian
Unitary.
white. Oh, okay.
White musk.
Yeah,
White
White
musk,
musk.
white stuff.
yes.
Yeah.
And I remember shortly after she passed coming home and the whole house smelled
Must
like
smell
it.
like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, and I remember Aunt Bobby saying that when she was going in for her breast cancer surgery, she felt Grandpa in the room with her.
Oh, wow.
And so she knew he was there, to give her support.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
I think they can make contact if they want to or need to.
I agree. For our listeners who don't know this, for about 9 months last year, I lived with my grandma, taking care of her. And so I would sleep in my grandfather's room. And there was a lot of times where I felt his presence in there, that he was trying to make contact with me. There was times where he would like tickle the back of my neck to kind of let me know that he was there. But
Mhm.
there was a lot of nights where I'm like, Grandpa's in here with me. I can feel him.
Yeah. And
And that would be Grandpa. Yeah.
And for just the sake of getting it down, these are definitely, you guys are describing positive experiences you have, positive feelings. None of this is anything that would be considered something trying to scare you in any way, any kind of like, there's not, right? Am I wrong with that?
No, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
None of the experiences that we had I would characterize as like evil or, bad in any way. At best, they're mischievous and
Yeah.
take our stuff.
Yeah.
But, and nothing bad has ever really happened. And I've never, so people are like, well, aren't you afraid to live in a haunted house? And I'm like, yeah, well, you know, nothing bad has ever happened. It's just, sometimes it's a little weird and, a little kooky, but, they don't really scare me.
Yeah. I would say probably the scariest thing was when Mike got hissed at,
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
But
but that
that
was,
was his own fault
Yeah.
because he was making fun of the ghosts. And, he did it the whole way up and down the stairs, and and then the last thing when he was almost to the top of the stairs, we all heard the hiss in his ear. So he did that to
You
himself.
got what he was asking for.
You don't insult your guests, even if they're invisible.
correct. Well, and they probably think we're the guests, they were
But that's
Right.
probably true.
probably here
That's very
first.
true.
Yeah.
Well, a few months back, Dad's cousin Mark did a reading for me, just because he needed somebody to practice on. So he
Mhm.
did a reading for me, and he definitely said that my grandmother is like my spirit guide, and I felt that ever since I've had that dream about her. So it's kind of nice to know that your loved ones are watching over you,
Mhm.
and they can offer help or support if you need it.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of context, reading as in, are we talking about cards or something else? Like what's the context of reading here?
Well, it was very strange because he asked if he could do a reading on me. So I figured he was going to come to the house or I go to his house or whatever. But he did it at his house and then he called me on the phone. And I'm like, okay, so I kind of think there were cards involved, but I'm not sure what kind. But a lot of the things that he said were very spot on.
Yeah, I think he does a kind of a mixture of different types of readings where it's very intuitive, but I think he uses cards to kind of help with the messages as well. And Mark will be on our show at some point. We have an interview scheduled with him, so look forward to hearing more of his stories for sure. Dad, have you ever seen any UFOs or anything?
No.
Okay.
No. Sometimes I
Well,
don't know. I'm not sure if I really want to, or with all the stuff that I've read. But no, I'll tell you one. I'll tell you something about that though. From the time I was 13 to the time I was 18, I had a dream that your Uncle Ray and I were being chased by aliens through the house constantly, every single night for those 5 years. It was the same dream.
that's interesting.
I don't even know what that means, but there you have it.
Yeah, and where that came, why that started happening. That's interesting.
Because at
Were
that point, I was only, well, it's from 13 to 18.
Mhm.
I hadn't read a lot of the UFO stuff and the things that I've read now,
Do you think that influenced you to start looking into this stuff a little bit
It
more?
might have subconsciously, sure.
Mm-hmm. Tell us about some of the things that you have read about, like UFOs and.
Oh God, I've read about Roswell and the crash there. I've read there's a place called Exeter. There was a big UFO flap there, and they've claimed that they've found bodies and pieces and all kinds of things. I've read, and basically, there's not a conspiracy theory that haven't met that I didn't like. So.
Yeah. So what do you think about aliens and UFOs based on
Well,
what you've read?
because of all the experiences we've had here and stuff like that, I think that the universe and the universes beyond our universe are too big for God to have just made us and angels. I think that there are aliens. I do believe we've been visited. I don't know. Too many sightings and stuff have happened to all of them, for all of them to be hoax. And just this, if you're just looking statistically, there's got to be other life out there somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's like ours or not, but there's got to be something else.
Do you think that they come from like another planet? Do you think they're coming from another dimension? What do you
Oh
think?
my God. Well, there's all, yeah, it could be another dimension. It could be inside the earth. It could be another planet. There's, you know, there's all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure. I just do believe that there are some out there somewhere,
Yeah.
and that some of them have been here, wherever they've come from.
Well, if you think that, God created the universe and the billions and billions of stars and probably the billions and billions of planets surrounding those stars, I think it's rather egocentric for us to think that we're the only intelligent life and he only put it, intelligent life on this little rock. Because otherwise it's an enormous waste of space. For that vast universe and us to be the only ones. But like I said, it's egocentric thinking, because we just know what our experiences are. But
Right.
I think there's got to be life elsewhere in the universe, and whether they visited us or not, I don't know. But I'm sure that there's other intelligent life out there somewhere.
I think it's all very interesting. I believe that, all of the things that you folks say that you have experienced over the years that you actually have, for sure. I have no doubt that these are things that are happening to you all. Based on experiences that I've had, people I've talked to, things that I've read throughout my life. There are people, and one of which was, as people continue to listen to these things, they're going to get sick of hearing me talk about John Keel. But John Keel was the guy who wrote the Mothman Prophecies back in the 70s. He wrote a lot of books, and one of his thought processes was that there are people, and then this apparently, at least was his thought process, or seemed to be, that it kind of ran in families, but there are people who are more likely to be able to experience kind of what he called, and there's a bunch of different ways to say this, but kind of people who are more likely to experience psychic phenomenon, and the people who are more likely to experience that, in his thought process, were sometimes likely to make it possible for people who don't generally have that predilection to be able to perceive those things as well. And or people who maybe had a little bit of a way to see that stuff, will be able to see it more the more they're around people who are strong in it. And possibly it's got nothing to do with where you are, and it has more to do with when the people in your life that are more attuned to those things are around, then you're more likely to share in that because they're around to do that, to kind of reveal that. I think that both of your daughters are people like that, from the stories that I've heard from both of them.
Well, and Erin has definitely experienced some kind of spirit activity in every single place she's ever lived, including her college dorm. And she sometimes can identify who it is, whether it's her friend that passed away, or whether it's her former partner that passed away. But yeah, I think that she's definitely, I think they're drawn to her because she knows, she can sense her presence. So therefore she brings them to us.
Yeah. She's a magnet or an amplifier herself.
For sure.
So we all watched the Hellier documentary. Did you notice any kind of weird activity picking up after watching that for you guys?
Well, maybe that was about the time I lost my sunglasses.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, honestly, we haven't had much activity in a long, long time. And of course, Erin hasn't been home in 3.5 years. So I I kind of put it down to that, but hey, maybe it was the Hellier episode. I don't know, because that was right about the time my sunglasses went missing.
Yeah, I mean, it could be either. I just know for me, after we watched that whole series, weird stuff started happening here that never
Mm,
happened before. I'd been living here for 6 months prior to watching that and had no experiences, and then all of a sudden somebody's messing with the lights in the bathroom on me, and I'm seeing things out of the corner of my eye, and you know I don't know if watching that kind of like brought things to the surface again or what happened, but it just definitely feel like something happened after watching that.
mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, that
Could
was
very well
also
be.
the same time frame that we started watching Twin Peaks.
That's
And
true.
not sure if you guys have ever watched Twin
We
Peaks
yeah,
way
we
back in the
watched it
day.
Yeah.
from beginning to end. We watched it. Yeah, it was very strange.
Yeah. And there's
Yes.
a lot of so David Lynch, the guy who created and directed and co-wrote all of Twin Peaks, is a lifelong practitioner of transcendental meditation. He had a lot of research with Masonic stuff, and there's a lot of Masonic imagery in that show. The idea of the White Lodge versus the Black Lodge, all that stuff. That all comes from the magical side, quote magical side of Masonry, and that you could make an argument that show that Twin Peaks itself can also be kind of an initiation into things like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then we started this podcast. So I think we were initiated into something.
Yeah. So has weird stuff been happening since you started your podcast?
Yeah, I mean, it's very strange, but it mostly happens when Jonathan is not here for me. If he's gone, all of a sudden there's strange things happening. Like, um, this piece of paper moved, like I was looking right at it. There's no wind near it. I'm not moving. Nobody else is in the house, and it just moved like pretty significantly the other day when he wasn't here. And I was like, what the hell? And hearing things, and John did say that he's seen things out of the corner of his eye a lot, and before we started watching Twin Peaks or Hellier, but I had not experienced anything here until that. So something opened up.
Mm-hmm.
It
Well,
doesn't feel
and I know that we shared that, nothing bad has ever happened to us, but I do believe that there are, bad entities out there.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, I think one needs to be very careful about opening things up, like, using a Ouija board or something like that. I think you can open a whole can of worms that you don't know what to do with once it's open. So we stay away from all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It doesn't, the energy here doesn't feel bad or anything like that. It feels like you said, it feels a little mischievous, like you're messing with me with the lights, like you're turning them on and off, to kind
Uh-huh.
of mess with me, but it doesn't feel like harmful in any kind of way.
No.
How did like the negative entities, how does that kind of fit into your spiritual beliefs?
Well, if we believe that, there's a heaven and there's a hell, I, I don't know if it's actual a physical place, more of than a state of being, if you will. But I think there are definitely you know, fallen angels and demons out there that attack people or possess people or things like that. I believe that that's a real thing. Um, Fortunately for us, that has not been our experience, but I know some people have had very, very bad experiences. So we've just been lucky that
Yeah.
it's just been positive. It's just been positive. It's just, just kind of sometimes a little spooky, but
Mhm.
you get used to it after a while.
Yeah. Do you feel like anything like protects you from negative entities?
I think my faith does. I wear a cross every single day of my life. I carry a bottle of holy water in my purse. So, bless the cars every time we take a trip, so,
Mhm.
I really feel, that my faith protects me.
Mhm.
And I think that, if there are evil entities out there, I think they attack people who are vulnerable, that, may be
Or
hurting in some way, emotionally or spiritually or something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, I mean, I hope I'm not, like shooting myself in the foot by saying that, but, um, I, um, I think my faith plays a big role in keeping the evil entities away. God's got my back.
Well, thanks for talking with us, guys.
Well, thanks for having us on.
really.
It's good to have this forum where people can share their stories and not have other people think they're crazy. And
Yes.
and to have people that will take them seriously, because sometimes you don't want to tell people about your experiences because they'll think you're nuts.
Which
So
is definitely a huge reason why we're doing this. And, the more that we're doing this and the more that we're reaching or having people reach out to us, the more I realize that probably most people have had some kind of
Some kind of
unexplained experience
mhm.
in some way, so it's like if we can all talk about it, then maybe we can make a little bit more sense of it, and
Mhm.
we don't have to feel so crazy when these things happen to us. So that's the goal here. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. We really appreciate having you.
Yeah,
And
well, and thank you for having us.
Yeah.
yeah.
Just a side note, I
Yes.
bought the Hellier book.
Of
Oh,
course he did.
did we know there was a book, Jonathan?
There's a book.
Hellier down, Hellier below, or something like that, and it's
Oh, we didn't know that.
written by the three aliens, Risk,
Oh,
Cold, and Thor there, whatever the hell his name's, Thor Valiant.
Valiant Thor.
Valiant Thor,
I have
yes.
to look this up. I've not
oh
seen
my.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's not a book in print that your father doesn't want.
Yeah,
Now-
well, we understand this.
Did you guys watch the second season? You watched the whole show, right?
We watched the whole
Yep.
show, yeah.
Yep.
Well, I am right now about 40 pages into Secret Ciphers of the Euphonauts, which features pretty heavily in the second, in both of them, really.
Yep.
Mostly the second one by Alan Greenfield. And that so far has been extremely interesting. Alan Greenfield is a super, super interesting guy for sure. He's got a lot of knowledge.
Yeah, I thought my head was going to explode by the time I got to the end of that, because
Right.
I just I don't even know what to think about all of this.
Mhm.
And then Greenfield, when they were talking to Greenfield, he goes, "Oh yeah, you're being guided by the third whatever there," and I'm going, and he's talking about it like, "Oh yeah, it's like it's okay, yeah,
Yeah,
every day."
no big deal.
Yeah.
Well, from what I'm seeing about his life, and then as I did get to him a little bit, that's pretty par for the course for that guy. He's had some extremely interesting experiences.
I bet. I can only imagine.
I hope one day to have a conversation with him.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, I
Maybe
feel
he'll come
like
on your podcast.
maybe we'll
You
put
become
that
famous
out.
enough.
We'll put that out to the universe. Alan
Yeah.
Greenfield,
Yep.
we've made it.
Talk to us.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we have fallen down a huge rabbit hole that I don't know if we'll ever be able to climb out of, but it's
It's okay.
fun. So
Yep.
we're in good company, right, Dad?
Yeah, that's right, honey.
All right. Well, this was fun. Thank you guys for doing this.
It's
Okay.
okay.
Take
All
it easy.
right.
Thank you so much for being here. If you have a strange story you want to share with us, email us at seekerandskeptic@gmail.com. We look forward to talking to you soon.